Accelerating, air flows around the shoulders near the outer lane. Signals crossing overhead inside a band of haze. Neon reflections stretching across the moving steel. Grid lines underneath the feet, locking into place. Sound climbing through the pillars near the avenue. White vapor curling upward from the heated roof. Numbers blinking rapidly beside the traffic flow. Every surface holding traces of electric blue. Long rails bending slowly underneath the towers. Cold transmission humming through connected structures. Thin magnetic patterns circling across the ceiling. Rows of mirrored windows shifting with the tension. Motion through the district, never losing balance. Rotating intersections forming perfect angles. Chrome air currents running through the station. Wide mechanical spirals building synchronization. Inside the turning radius, inside the moving layers, inside the rotating system, velocity expanding. Circular reflections spreading over black pavements. Signal markers glowing underneath the overpass. Outer sectors stretching farther toward the skyline. Metal structures flickering beside the transit path. Fast electric pulses tracing every surface wall. Connected wires crossing through the upper levels. Temperature rising through the spinning corridor. Airflow pressing softly against the concrete rails. Glass doors sliding open near the central platform. Bright frequency patterns traveling through the framework. Wide illuminated symbols floating near the ceiling. Narrow chrome pathways widening through the vortex. Transit signals ripple across the lower passage. Thin white indicators sweep on the tunnel edges. Rotating overhead structures drift beyond the skyline. Dense current layers folding through the central axis. Static on the railings, tension through the framework. Outer rings rotating, clearer at the center. Pressure on the glass turning into silver lines. Static through the floor, running under every wire. Wide radius spinning past the edge of every sign. I step into the center where the current stays aligned. Storm entry, circles widening. Storm entry, pulse accelerating. Upper air revolving over distant rooftops. Dense atmospheric layers folding into spirals. Bright transmission signals flowing through the skyline. Moving information across connected sectors. Curved reflective surfaces lining every passage. Cold metallic structure circling through the radius. Long illuminated pathways leading to the center. Wind direction tightening through the outer structure. Observation lights flicker near the upper rails. Parallel vibrations travel through the flooring. Rotating current bands sweep across the columns. Sharp white reflections slide along the framework. Wide circular motion holding perfect continuity. Every moving structure locked into precision. Velocity fields extending through the upper district. Clear visibility growing near the central axis. Upper air rotating through the open structure. Window frames vibrating in controlled repetition. Long arcs bending over towers near the station. Clear pathways forming inside the spinning pressure. Multiple layers crossing through electric silence. Bright metallic surfaces carrying reflected motion. Outer velocity building near the highest sector. Stable White curved layers ripple through the translucent atmosphere. Air slides slowly around the turning spiral bands. Loose vapor patterns folding through the outer rings. Light wave reflections stretching over liquid motion. Thin rotating sequences gliding side to side. Floating streams travel underneath the mirrored sky. Blurred halo shapes bending through the distant flow. Weight dissolving through the circular direction. Floating farther into the widening pool. Closer through the spiral, pulled across the airflow. Layer after layer, orbit drawing inward. Spiral, pulling under soft blue air. Orbit flowing through the hollow lines. Soft reflections drifting into waves. Circular motion, wrapping through the skyline. Airflow folding over mirrored blue. Outer ribbons sliding into view. Wide rotating currents turning slow. White currents drifting below. Long pale ribbons sweep across the open blue. Circular vapor trails crossing through transparent layers. Soft glowing currents flowing underneath the horizon. White liquid patterns turning through the floating haze. Air bends gently through the overlapping motion. Floating light sequences drift beside the orbit rings. White reflections sliding over curved dimensions. Loose moving layers circling without resistance. Wave after wave folding into softer spirals. Thin luminous pathways blur across the distance. Pale airflow widening near the outer motion. Quiet rotation settling into thinner lines. Circling farther through the vapor flow. Sliding deeper into layered motion. Soft airflow bending through the waves. Orbit lights dissolving into motion trails. Light wave circles ripple through transparent motion. Wide floating patterns sweep beneath the mirrored glow. Pale rotating halos drift across the open distance. Soft blue air wraps around the orbit flow. Long curved sequences glide beyond the vapor layers. Air currents folding through the luminous ribbons. Loose reflections stretching across the liquid skyline. Floating motion settling into smooth rotation. White drifting streams pass underneath the blue horizon. Circular airflow widening through the outer radius. Every layer turning into softer movement. Orbit after orbit pulling inward. Soft spiral airflow circles through the translucent atmosphere. Wide curved ribbons flowing underneath the fading haze. Liquid reflections drifting across transparent motion. Pale orbit currents floating through the upper layers. Airwave patterns folding through the floating silence. Long white streams gliding beyond the mirrored distance. Layered motion turning without interruption. Stable spiral pulling toward the center line. Spiral pulling under soft blue air. Orbit flowing through the hollow lines. Soft reflections drifting into waves. Circular motion wrapping through the skyline. Airflow folding over mirrored blue. Outer ribbons sliding into view. Wide rotating currents turning slow. White currents drifting below. White ribbons widening. Floating layers circling. Soft reflections gliding. Rotation flowing onward. Clear blue distance resting over silent rings. And white vapor floating near the upper glow. Smooth horizon lines stretching without distortion. Soft transparent currents drifting far below. Quiet reflections resting on the mirrored surface. Pale luminous patterns hovering without weight. Open circular layers holding perfect balance. Wide calm sequences settling resistance. Open airflow drifting through connected distances. Light reflections widening near the upper air. Wide clear pathways stretching beyond the vapor lines. Weightless currents holding smooth direction. Floating luminous shapes hover near the outer radius. Then translucent waves overlap across the skyline. Air remains suspended through the turning layers. Clear motion settling into quieter forms. Clear air over the spiral lines. Soft blue flowing through the sky. Wide reflections turning slow. Open currents far below. Clear air through the layered glow. Pale white drifting through the flow. Quiet rotation holding light. Floating through the silent blue. Soft horizon circles widening through the atmosphere. Long pale gradients ripple underneath the distant clouds. Open luminous airflow moves across transparent motion. Wide quiet layers folding through the mirror glow. Light wave patterns hover near the outer silence. Thin curved reflections slide across the liquid surface. Floating air sequences overlap without pressure. Smooth orbit trails dissolving to the fading glow. Clear visibility stretches through connected layers. Soft rotating halos drift beyond the horizon line. White transparent currents glide across the open distance. Calm airflow settling through the silver haze. Wide blue atmosphere flowing without interruption. Pale luminous ribbons crossing through transparent air. Soft layered motion turning near the distant skyline. Clear orbit pathways drifting underneath the glow. Long reflections floating through the silent current. Open circular airflow winding through the upper layers. Smooth horizon patterns gliding into softer gradients. Stable clear motion holding through the spiral. Clear air over the spiral lines. Soft blue flowing through the sky. Wide reflections turning slow. Open currents far below. Clear air through the layered glow. Pale white drifting through the flow. Quiet rotation holding light. Floating through the silent blue. Soft blue layers widening. Clear reflections gliding. Wide horizon turning. Silent currents flowing. Warm blue pressure resting underneath the open sky. Soft white airflow moving at an even pace. Bright horizon layers holding steady through the distance. Calm rotating currents settling into place. Pale gold reflections stretch across the mirrored rails. Long sunlight gradients drift beside the outer lanes. Air remains balanced through the clear surrounding glow. Smooth compression flowing through the upper space. Wide luminous patterns hover near the floating clouds. Slow measured pulses travel through the warm blue air. Stable circular layers turning without interruption. Constant motion resting through the daylight waves. Flat bright reflections spread across the silver floor. Soft electric sequences glide beneath the open light. Weight stays centered through the balanced airflow bands. Low circulating tension turning without force. Warm indicator halos drift along the upper lines. Clear current patterns slide across connected layers. Wide restrained echoes pulse through the bright horizon. Smooth restrained motion settling into form. Airflow remains level through the pale transparent glow. Soft measured vibration passing through the distant air. Stable compression layers stretch beyond the skyline. Dense quiet rhythm holding through the blue. Open atmosphere resting underneath the wide horizon. Pale measured waves drift beside the outer glow. Long balanced pulses cross the steady upper air. Wide compression layers turning at reduced speed. Minimal reflections pass across the bright flooring. Muted airflow glides beneath white glow, warm, restrained airflow circles through the open layers. That luminous reflection spread across the upper distance. Stable pressure drifting underneath the pale sky. Long quiet gradients fade beside the bright horizon. Dense balance motion saddles through the clear blue air. Measured silver pulses glide across the sunlight layers. Smooth restrained rhythm flowing without change. Compressed airflow holding through the rotating atmosphere. Muted white sequences stretch beyond the mirrored glow. Steady current patterns fold into alignment. Low stable motion turning through the blue. More static resonance moving through connected open air. Balanced compression flowing underneath the sunlight haze. Wide restrained currents passing through the bright silence. Soft, controlled motion resting near the center line. Long measured airflow circling through the upper layer. Horizontal gradients drifting underneath the pale gold glow. Minimal rotation holding through the distant blue horizon. Stable pressure remaining through the spiral. Level motion holding. Bright layers circling. Soft currents resting. Warm airflow turning. Inside the eye, the blue keeps turning. White signals crossing through the sunlight. Inside the eye, the air stays weightless. Every horizon opening at once. Center line glowing through the clear atmosphere. Bright orbit layers circling underneath. High velocity flowing through the outer spiral. I remain steady while the whole sky spins. Warm blue currents sweep across the upper distance. Long radiant ribbons stretching through the open air. Bright rotating halos drifting near the skyline. Luminous motion breaking into waves. Compression bands widen through connected layers. White reflections racing over liquid motion. Outer atmosphere turning at maximum radius. Clear transmission surging through the sunlight haze. White electric sequences pulse beside the horizon. Floating gradients shimmer through transparent blue. Long circular airflow bends around the spiral. Every moving layer locking into rhythm. Faster through the outer rings. Higher through the silver glow. White rotation lifting through the atmosphere. Center line holding through the motion. Inside the eye, the blue keeps turning. White signals crossing through the sunlight. Inside the eye, the air stays weightless. Every horizon opening at once. Center line glowing through the clear atmosphere. Bright orbit layers circling underneath. High velocity flowing through the outer spiral. I remain steady while the whole sky spins. Bright horizon currents burst across the upper air. Long sunlight waves sweep through the open distance. Layered spirals expanding through transparent motion. Pale white airflow surging underneath the blue. Rotating transmission halos blaze beyond the skyline. Wide silver pathways stretch across connected motion. Radiant and spheric ribbons sweep beside the orbit. Floating structures rising through the luminous haze. Upper airflow circles near the endless horizon. Bright reflective sequences pulse through the atmosphere. Long curved gradients overlap through expanding motion. Every orbit widening toward the outer blue. Center line glowing underneath the sunlight layers. Wide rotating currents passing through the open air. trajectory holding steady. Velocity running through the sunlight. White blue currents crossing overhead. Orbit patterns racing through the skyline. Fast white airflow underneath. Velocity lifting through the open layers. Bright reflections turning side to side. Long horizon ribbons flowing outward. Clear motion filling up the sky. Upper airflow spirals through connected distance wide. Reflective currents sweep across the atmosphere. Bright layered motion crosses through the silver horizon. Long streamlined trails stretching through the blue. Rapid orbit sequences pulse beside the sunlight. Then white gradients overlap through rotating air. Clear luminous pathways bend around the upper motion. Fast current ribbons circling through the spiral. Open reflection signals flowing through the skyline, moving in formation across connected sectors. Curved reflective surfaces lining every passage, cold metallic structures circling through the radius, long illuminated pathways leading toward the center, wind direction tightening through the outer structure. Observation lights flicker near the upper rails, parallel vibrations travel through the flooring, rotating current bands sweep across the column, sharp white reflections slide along the framework, wide circular motion holding perfect continuity, every moving structure locked into precision, velocity fields extending through the upper district, clear visibility growing near the central axis, upper air rotating through the open structure, window frames vibrating in controlled repetition, long arcs bending over towers near the station, clear pathways forming inside the spinning pressure, multiple layers crossing through electric silence, bright metallic surfaces carrying reflected motion, outer velocity building near the highest sectors, able at the center of the rotating system, signal towers blinking through the upper air current, circular pathways glowing underneath the skyline, connected frequencies pulsing through the observation grid, wide transmission layers stretching past the horizon, pressure through the walls tracing along the skyline, fast lanes underneath carrying synchronized light, outer rings revolving with mechanical precision, I stay at the center while the system amplifies, storm entry, circles widening, storm entry, pulse accelerating, current through the skyline, static through the structure, spinning to alignment, holding at the center, chrome reflections widening, outer signals turning, white transmission flowing, velocity surrounding, suck-like currents circle across the upper air, long flowing ribbons drift beside the moving haze, pale orbit lines sweep underneath the floating glow, white curved layers ripple through the translucent atmosphere, air slides slowly around the turning spiral bands, loose vapor patterns rotation flowing onward. Clear blue distance resting over silent rings, thin white vapor floating near the upper glow. Smooth horizon lines stretching without distortion, soft transparent currents drifting far below. Quiet reflections resting on the mirrored surface, pale luminous patterns hovering without weight. Open circular layers holding perfect balance, wide calm sequences settling into place. Air remains steady through the outer motion, light wave halos turning at an even pace. Long soft gradients fading through the silver skyline, floating visibility extending through the haze. Curved horizon bands resting over liquid blue, white orbit traces passing underneath the atmosphere. Soft moving layers gliding through transparent silence, pale flowing ribbons circling without resistance. Open airflow drifting through connected distances, light reflections widening near the upper air. Wide clear pathways stretching beyond the vapor lines, weightless currents holding smooth direction. Floating luminous shapes hover near the outer radius, thin translucent waves overlap across the skyline. Air remains suspended through the turning layers, clear motion settling into quieter forms. Clear air over the spiral lines, soft blue flowing through the sky. White reflections turning slow, open currents far below. Clear air through the layered glow, pale white drifting through the flow. Quiet rotation holding light, floating through the silent blue. Soft horizon circles widen through the atmosphere, long pale gradients ripple underneath the distant clouds. Open luminous airflow moves across transparent motion, white quiet layers folding through the mirrored blue. Light wave patterns hover near the outer silence, thin curved reflections slide across the liquid surface. Floating air sequences overlap without pressure, smooth orbit trails dissolve into the fading glow. Clear visibility stretches through connected layers, soft rotating halos drift beyond the horizon line. Light transparent currents glide across the open distance, calm airflow settling through the silver haze. White blue atmosphere flowing without interruption, pale luminous ribbons crossing through transparent air. Soft layered motion turning near the distant skyline, clear orbit pathways drifting underneath the glow. Long reflections floating through the silent current, open circular airflow widening through the upper layers. Smooth horizon patterns gliding into softer gradients, stable clear motion holding through the spiral. Clear air over the spiral lines, soft blue flowing through the sky. White reflections turning slow, open currents far below. Clear air through the layered glow, pale white drifting through the flow. Quiet rotation holding light, floating through the silent blue. Soft blue layers widening, clear reflections gliding, wide horizon turning, silent currents flowing. Warm blue pressure resting underneath the open sky, soft white airflow moving at an even pace. Bright horizon layers holding steady through the distance, calm rotating currents settling into place. Pale gold reflections stretch across the mirrored rails, long sunlight gradients drift beside the outer lanes. Air remains balanced through the clear surrounding glow, smooth compression flowing through the upper space. Wide luminous patterns hover near the floating clouds, slow measured atmosphere. Soft luminous resonance travels through the warm air, controlled compression resting near the center line. Horizontal current bends pulse beneath the daylight glow. Warm restrained airflow circles through the open layers. Flat luminous reflections spread across the upper distance. Stable pressure drifting underneath the pale sky. Long quiet gradients fade beside the bright horizon. Dense balance motion settles through the clear blue air. Measured silver pulses glide across the sunlight layer. Smooth restrained rhythm flowing without change. Compressed airflow holding through the rotating atmosphere. Beauty white sequences stretch beyond the mirrored glow. Steady current patterns fold into alignment. Low stable motion turning through the blue. Warm static resonance moving through connected open air. Balanced compression flowing underneath the sunlight haze. Wide restrained currents passing through the bright silence. Soft controlled motion resting near the center line. Long measured airflow circling through the upper layers. Horizontal gradients drifting underneath the pale gold glow. Minimal rotation holding through the distant blue horizon. Stable pressure remaining through the spiral. Level motion holding. Bright layers circling. Soft current resting. Warm airflow turning. Inside the eye, the blue keeps turning. White light signals crossing through the sunlight. Inside the eye, the air stays weightless. Every horizon opening at once. Center line glowing through the clear atmosphere. Bright orbit layers circling underneath. High velocity flowing through the outer spiral. I remain steady while the whole sky spins. Warm blue currents sweep across the upper distance. Long radiant ribbons stretching through the open air. Bright rotating halos drifting near the skyline. Luminous motion breaking into waves. Compression bands widen through connected layers. White reflections racing over liquid motion. Outer atmosphere turning at maximum radius. Clear transmission surging through the sunlight haze. White electric sequences pulse beside the horizon. Floating gradient shimmer through transparent blue. cut through the upper distance. Compressed atmospheric waves race beside the horizon. Long orbit currents sweep underneath the radiant glow. Layer over layer turning without interruption. Wide reflecting sequences stretch across connected spirals. Dense blue airflow circles through transparent motion. Soft rotating gradients overlap across the skyline. Outer moving rising at continuous speed. Pale sunlight ribbons drift beyond the visible layers. Rapid silver currents pulse through the upper atmosphere. Every orbit widening through the open radius. Clear compressed motion flowing through the wall. Upper airflow surges through the rotating horizon. Wide luminous waves sweep underneath the distant blue. Fast connected spirals crossing through the sunlight haze. Bright atmospheric currents circling side to side. Long reflected patterns pulse beyond the outer motion. Dense orbit layers overlap across transparent air. Radiant velocity bands stretch through the spiral structure. Soft glowing pressure turning through the upper sky. White airflow sequences rush beneath the silver gradients. Multiple ribbons folding through connected motion lines. Open rotating layers drift across the endless skyline. Wide circular energy rising through the atmosphere. Bright compressed currents move through the outer sectors. Horizontal airflow waves sweep beyond the order rings. Long pale reflections ripple through the luminous blue. Rapid turning motion spreads across the horizon. Dense atmospheric spirals cross through the radiant airflow. White glowing ribbons bend around the silver distance. Clear rotating sequences pulse through layered motion. Outer velocity holding through the spiral wall. Soft sunlight gradients stretch across transparent currents. Connected orbit pathways drift beyond the open sky. Every luminous layer folds into expansion. High rotating motion circling without end. Wide orbit spirals turning at maximum density. Bright compressed airflow flowing through connected layers. Radiant horizon currents sweeping underneath the sunlight. Long atmospheric ribbons crossing through the open blue. Multiple velocity waves pulse beside the outer radius. Dense rotating motion building through transparent spirals. Clear luminous pressure rising through the skyline. Stable at the center of the outer wall. Wide blue currents rising. Radiant spirals turning. Dense airflow circling. Outer motion building. Fast blue airflow cuts across the upper distance. Long reflective ribbons sweep beside the sunlight. Sharp orbit currents stretch underneath the horizon. Wide silver motion racing through the open sky. Connected trajectory lines pulse across the atmosphere. Bright rotating pathways bend around the spiral. Thin luminous trails glide through layered motion. Rapid airflow circling near the outer rings. Clear directional waves surge beyond the skyline. Compressed reflections ripple through transparent blue. Open current sequences cross through moving gradients. High rotating motion pulling through the air. Faster through transparent distance, every moving sequence locking into alignment. White Orvie currents race underneath the silver glow, fast connected ribbons sweep beyond the skyline. Bright airflow patterns stretch through layered motion, rapid blue reflections turning through the air. Horizontal vector waves pulse across the atmosphere, clear rotating layers bend through the open distance. Long luminous sequences overlap through the sunlight, high circular motion widening through the horizon. Soft white currents drift beside the upper spirals, connected airflow trails flow through transparent gradients. Every orbit pathway rises through the blue, aligned motion circling without resistance. Wide horizon currents turning through connected motion, right rotating airflow sweeping underneath the sunlight. Rapid orbit waves crossing through the atmosphere, long reflecting ribbons stretching through the blue. Clear trajectory lines pulse beside